was for life touch. She was the old lady lying on the ground who said I've fallen and I can't get up. She was a scream and must have done that line 1,000 times during our family dinners. Even though everybody in North America has seen that commercial dozens of times, she only got recognized a couple of times. She was once recognized in a mall and laid down on the floor and said the line. People were cheering and clapping. Edit, RIP my inbox. I can't remember the name of the company, it must have been Life Alert if all you say so. My wife is a distant relative of Tom Hanks. It doesn't affect her at all. It affects me because she reminds me of it every time he is mentioned on the TV. My uncle is the assistant manager at a Wendy's. Sometimes we get a free Frosty, but that's very rare. Related to Kings of Leon through marriage. Pretty cool group of guys. We have a family reunion every May and hang out and play horseshoes etc. Just like everyone else. It's kind of funny because even here in my tiny little town they still act like they're going to be bombarded by fans. But literally no one recognizes them. Edit, the documentary was released just a few months before I knew them. I wasn't in it. Spouse is related to David Tennant. I did not know this until after we were married. Spouse born in America. Not impacted life at all except I got to meet him during my first trip to London. Their family scored us tickets to Much Ado About Nothing and we saw David Tennant and Catherine Tate after the show. Nothing bad to say about either of them. They were both lovely and effusive and Tennant gave us both a hug even though neither of us had ever met him before. Spouse had a brief chat about mutual acquaintances in the family and then we left. Matt McConaughey is my second cousin. He acts normal with us but the bastard has yet to deliver me a boop for the bully I beat up for him 38 years ago. Though he does always bring the best booze to the parties. Alright. Megan Fox is my first cousin once removed. Her mother and my grandfather are brother and sister. She's 6 years older than me. So there are plenty of pictures of us playing together while growing up. But once she got to the point of puberty, she quickly shifted into modeling and moved from Tennessee to Florida to pursue it. She then got into movies and, as you know, made it rather big. The last time she was in town to visit was about 12 years ago. She came for Christmas and everything seemed normal until she whipped out the stack of headshots she had brought to sign for us to take back to our friends and such. She did make it a point to call my grandfather when he had his heart attack back in 2014. So not all is lost in fame. The headshots thing was just a tad comical. Edit, I switched it from second cousin to first cousin once removed. Thank you to each of you that made it a point to give me a basic lesson on family trees. I clearly missed that day of elementary school. I'm related, distantly, to Elvis Presley. Went to the Presley family reunion years back. It was ducking stupid. Tried to get me to pay $20 for a plate of food. At a family reunion. Edit, as I've said. Traditionally family reunions in my area are a potluck type deal where everyone brings food and a paper plate idea would be absurd. We would have brought a dish. But were basically instructed not to and then surprised at the steep per person, per plate price. I've paid $40 plus to attend my non-famous family reunions. Food and venue rentals add up. Man. Related to Keanu Reeves. We have a Reeves Ohana gathering every year in Hawaii and he never comes. Which I don't blame him at all. His dad was not a good father so I assume. Besides being a busy actor, he doesn't come because that burned the bridges with our family. My dad sometimes mentions Keanu when the reunions happen. About how he doesn't visit. It's not in a bitter way or anything. Just sometimes the little cousins ask. I haven't met all my family in Hawaii yet cause I live in the mainland. But I do know at least a few people are salty about it. Other than that, my cousins look up to him and get excited when he's in a movie. Even if the kids aren't allowed to watch cause of violence they see a movie poster and look all awestruck. So cute. Kind of unheard of but Alex Pietrangelo, professional hockey player, is my stepbrother. Usually see him during the summer. And we go out on his boat. Swell dude. Edit, we are all family on this blessed day. Related to Dwayne Johnson. Regularly smell what he's cooking. My sister's best friend is Ryan Reynolds' niece. She went to the wedding with Blake Lively. Ryan came to our school one time. A+ guy, and he is still close to his family. My dad is first cousins with Tommy Mottola, formerly Mr. Mariah Carey. Tommy used to provide free tickets to concerts for the various stars he represented, Carly Simon, Hall and Oates. But as more and more people had their hands out, the more he retreated. I worked at Sony for a while he was there. He got in the elevator one day in his $2,000 shiny mobster suit. Waited until the elevator stopped on his floor. And ripped a giant fart. Waved at us as he ran out. Never too rich or famous to trap a bunch of guys in an elevator a fart. Really funny. My professor last semester turned out to be Matt Damon's stepdad. School gossip says he cancelled class for J.Lo and Ben Affleck's wedding, and then abruptly uncancelled it when the wedding didn't work out. My cousin is Danny Mathers, the Playboy model who took that picture of the woman in the gym. We hate her. Now that is interesting. Did you start hating her after she pulled that stunt? Or is she just a shitty person in general? She was a brat growing up. Spoiled and always entitled. She's the same now. And uses people. While I was growing up, my family was close to Willem Dafoe and his family. They are really wonderful people. But very private. Which is completely understandable. My dad got pretty uncomfortable at family events because our family members were always asking him if he could introduce them to Willem. Or worse, borrow money from him. It got to the point where my family avoided most family events because they valued their working and personal relationship with Willem and Liz more. My ex-wife is related to Richard Ramirez. Yes. The Night Stalker. He come up at every single family gathering, big or small. They would talk about him for hours. Same stories, same reactions. As the years went by, he slowly started to disappear from the conversations. Then he goes and makes national news when he died. We were already divorced when it happened, but that did not stop her family from reaching out to me and telling me, in detail, all about his life and death. It still comes up every time I come across any of them. Can't tell if it's pride or sorrow. Not really a celebrity. But my uncle is one of the first dozen people Bill Gates hired to start Microsoft. He's stupid rich now but spends his time being super generous with his money to family and advocating for the protection of national parks and a healthy environment. Probably the nicest and most down-to-earth people I've ever met. He never buys anything unnecessary if he can help it. He does all he can to make his house 100% environmentally friendly. He's pretty awesome. You'd never know that he helped change the world. My girlfriend's cousin is on Orange is the New Black. Got to watch her place in New York once. She can't get me Kate Mulgrew's autograph, so she's dead to me. Edit, it's one of the Dominicans. My dad's cousin is an actor with a couple hundred entries who is currently playing a role in one of my favorite TV shows. Don't want to say his name because it's the same last name as me. I've met him 3 times. He lives in LA and every time he comes back to town, one of my uncles will throw a dinner party for him and the entire extended family will show up. It's really the only thing that can make that happen. Really nice guy though. Great storyteller. My neighbor when I was 12 was the guitarist for Matchbox 20 around when they were all over the radio. My dad plays a lot of guitar, so he would go over and they would play for a few hours and chill. Got to meet the rest of the band and they were all really cool, down to earth guys. I'm relatively closely related to J.K. Rowling. And to be honest, it doesn't affect family gatherings at all. Either people whisper about her from afar, or go up and have a conversation with her. Most people don't make a big deal of it and she does the same and just chats to anyone that speaks to her. The biggest reaction I ever get is when someone finds out I'm related to her. Haha. I facetiously asked my best friend if he had a rich uncle and he said, actually, his uncle is a best-selling author. I couldn't believe he never mentioned it before. It's out of respect for him that I'm not boasting the name right now. There have been quarrels over characters that allegedly resemble family members in ways they felt were less than flattering. Or too direct from life. You plagiarized my divorce. We're dating now and he's taking me to a family reunion in August. I'm already starstruck. This probably isn't that exciting. But my grandmother's cousin was Bob Hope. Well, since he's one of the most famous actors and singers in American history, I'd say that's at least kinda exciting. My coworker is a distant cousin of Vanilla Ice. She hasn't seen him in years. The last time she saw him was at a wedding when they were both older kids. She remembers him acting like a jerk and pushing somebody into a pool. Was on a date with a girl. Helter Skelter was playing on the radio. I brought up the song's involvement with the Manson murders. She burst out crying. Apparently she was a close relative of Sharon Tate. Whoops. Edit. Manson. Some family reunions I've been to have been in Preston, Idaho, where Napoleon Dynamite was filmed. They're not celebrities, but I guess we have a couple of family members who were in the movie. And the chicken farm Napoleon works at is owned by a family member as well. Naturally, the movie is frequent topic of conversation at the reunions. My cousin was Miss Universe. She got a lot of attention at family gatherings, which are like every weekend in Puerto Rico, but that was about it. I just want someone who's related to Alex Jones to see this thread and tell us a bunch of amazing stories about that ducking nutter. Late to this, but my friend's uncle is Will Smith. Apparently he doesn't really speak to much of his family anymore because they're always asking for money and whatnot. One of my best friends is the daughter of a pretty successful actor in Hollywood. Her parents got divorced when she was 5 or 6, we're 21 now, and when he remarried another actress a few years later he pretty much cut her and her brother out of his life. He came to our high school graduation. But other than that she only really hears from him over email once or twice a year. I grew up in the same school system with a guy whose uncle played Arwen on The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody. He was the coolest kid in school growing up. Cussy had all these signed pictures of him with the stars of the show. Until we got to high school and he got kinda weird. Looks just like him now. Too. Bro, pretty sure we're from the same town. I went to school with that kid too. The only thing I remember about him was that he sang Surrender by Cheap Trick for the talent show one year. I have 2 aunts on Real Housewives. Were always gaudy and trashy before. Still gaudy and trashy now. We avoid them as much as possible. Also my great uncle, on the other side, was Ernest Alara. Ernest goes to jail. Jim Varney doesn't affect me because he passed away a while ago. Affects my boyfriend because I bring it up every time we see any of his movies. I personally know someone who went to high school with Taylor Swift. He says she was a total ducking weirdo and actually a total asshole. That no one liked her. Weird Al Yankovic is my second cousin on my mom's side, but I've never met him. His mom or grandmother or something moved to California a long time before either of us were born, so that part of the family isn't connected to us anymore. My father's cousin's cousin is Thomas Lennon, Dangle from Reno 911. I met him and Robert Garrett, Jr. also from Reno 911, at a Christmas party at my father's cousin's house. It was totally dope and I made a Gonads of Fury joke which didn't go over too well at all. But anyways, the only way it has affected my family is the fact that we can say that down the line Thomas Lennon is a family member. I'd just like to tell that story. My grandma is first cousins with Linda Hogan, Hulk Hogan's ex-wife. She was at their wedding. Said it was weird. Hasn't affected me. Never met her. At this point my grandma is just embarrassed by her family. My uncle's not exactly a celebrity, but he works in Hollywood and has directed a couple pretty big movies and I think some TV. Written some stuff. Worked on some ducking big classic movies and TV shows. He still works there. But now he's also written a fantastic book. Teaches all over the world. I think he started designing theme park stuff for film properties. What I'm not sure. He seems to thoroughly enjoy his life. The perks are Krella. He's friends with some of the biggest people in entertainment. One flew him to another city to see his show and hang out. I assume he's good on money, they're pretty low-key. He and his wife take Krella vacations all the time. He travels all over the world for work. And he and his wife are some of the nicest, down-to-earth people and are very close to the family. I've received some Krella swag from the stuff he's worked on that I've kept for years and years. I admired him more and more as I got older and started to understand what he did for a living and how he got there. He legit started at nothing, eating macaroni every night and worked his ass off to get where he is. I think that's why he's so humble.